All righty, technical difficulty, but we're here and we're talking about this men's circle. This men's circle has been amazing, and I'm excited for this conversation because we're diving in now that we have all the guys there. We're diving into what I talked about and kind of gave just a monologue of what is a man. And so we're going to be talking about that, really looking at our own view of what three powerful things that we think make up a man, and then we'll go into it, and then we're going to segue that into what does it look like to grieve. All right, here we go. Peace.
When I am asked to speak, I embrace the calling. It is my responsibility to make sure to leave everyone inspired to elevate in all aspects of life. In the 26 states and 10 countries, it has been my energy that is infectious and magical. The impact elevates everyone to new heights. It's time to conquer our challenges. Relationships across the board, communication gaps, fear of the unknown, limited beliefs, and all that holds us hostage in life. The path to power is peace, and peace is the power to live by. The unique perspective that I bring to the table inspires all. Professionals, executives, students, coaches, and athletes to reach their highest potential. That is why I, Sid McNairy, am known as the secret weapon. Whether it is tackling mental health issues, success in business, or winning at life, every moment counts. Get ready to receive the tools to win. It's time to win at everything. Let's connect today. Peace.
Hello, my name is Miles. Discover a powerful journey of resilience, purpose, and spiritual growth in the autobiography of a human by Sid McNairy. In this compelling autobiography, McNairy shares the personal challenges and triumphs that shaped his path to success while offering insight for professionals seeking deeper meaning and balance in their own lives. Drawing from his experiences growing up Catholic, participating in indigenous vision quests, and studying the Buddhist path, he reveals how diverse spiritual traditions ultimately guide us toward the same destination: connection with the Creator and our highest selves. Through practices such as meditation, yoga, and spirit medicine, McNairy demonstrates how life's victories and hardships can become opportunities for growth, self-discovery, and lasting peace. The autobiography of a human is more than a memoir. It is an inspiring reflection for professionals striving to align purpose, personal development, and inner clarity. Available now on Amazon, this transformative story invites readers to reflect, grow, and step confidently onto their own path of self-discovery and peace.
All right, we're in it, and let's go ahead and get the guys up and get this conversation rolling. What did I just lose? Okay, he's coming back. I don't know how that happened. I don't know, man. It's a technical thing, or I'm punching the people's clocks. Who knows what's happening? But welcome, guys. Good to see you all. Welcome, Coach Hightower. First time being here, and excited for this conversation. And we created this so that, one, I could get guys together and have this conversation, but to also bring guys together on a bigger scale that allows us all to speak into something. And eventually, June 24th through the 27th, we're going to be in person at the Men's Circle here in Jacksonville, 3-day deal, and it's going to be phenomenal. So I'm excited for this, excited for you all to be here, and let's get the conversation going. So who wants to kick it off? What is a man? Three things. I know we can go long, so let's just go.
Okay, I'll if I have permission to go first, I'll go real tight. I'll go: a man is an adult human male who chooses to use his strength, gifts, and voice to love well, take responsibility, and help his people flourish, including himself. Done.
Boom. All right, Tony, follow that up.
Well, I would say that a man, I'm gonna piggyback exactly on what Dr. Vibe said. You got to have the parts. so to speak. And just because if you decide to lop them off doesn't make you a man. But anyway, man is someone who is a biological male. But that's, again, making you a male. We're having two different conversations, right? There's a male, and then there's being a man, like the stand-up man, because listen, a man is a man is a man, right? But then you have the strong men, you have the weaker men, you have beta males, you have alpha males, you have a lot of different situations. And in today's world, we're seeing a little bit of all of it. But I think to be a man is to be not just a man of your word, and to say what you mean and mean what you say, and walk your talk and not just talk the talk. I think that a man's duty is to provide for his family, to defend his woman, his children, defend the elderly, and defend not just your woman and your spouse or your partner and your children, but defend and stand up for those who can't stand up for themselves. Not those who won't stand up for themselves, but those who can't stand up for themselves. The children, the women, the elderly. That's, I think, what ultimately being a man, in my opinion, truly is. And just to be strong in your convictions, in your faith, and be passionate and compassionate at the same time.
Coach.
And I will piggyback on what the two gentlemen stated. I'm in agreement with wholeheartedly with both of the comments. I would add on to that, a man is also a person that's going to be responsible, be accountable, but also build legacy. Every man that leaves this earth want to be left leaving something. I want to be known for something. So it's all about, not all about, but part of that is legacy building. We want to make sure that we're leaving something for the next generation. We also want to make sure that we continue to keep our name going. A man thrives on having pride in his name. He thrived on making sure he's been viewed in a certain way. And I listen to some of the elders that I'm around. And the biggest thing they take pride in is the things that they have accomplished. And those things that they have accomplished, they have done. Now their relatives and now their descendants become beneficiaries. So it's all, for me, is big on legacy.
Do I have permission to add two quick things?
Hold up, man.
Okay. and I lost Tony. But I wanted to, and as a butter was going to say, "Hey, Tony, what's up?" We lose him, but there he comes back. I first wanted to say, Tony, great to see you again as always.
Same here, brother.
And as I said before in the green room, pleasure to meet, and with Coach Hightower. Two other things I would like to say. Well, one other thing, for those who follow the Bible, there was a character named David. And David knew when to war, but also there was time for him to play his harp.
My brother's named David.
There you go. So that I feel there's another time. There's a time for us to be assertive, but there's also time for us to play our harps.
All right. So when I look at a man, just observing, this isn't the men I respect most know how to listen. I respect them because of who they are, not because of the title they carry. Who they are being in the world. And that to me is the biggest part. You know, for me, Tony's heard me talk about, I vote for people character first. If you don't have character, I'm out. Like I that's it. Like it's simple for me. Like if you don't have character, that doesn't mean that you haven't done something that someone may perceive as wrong or bad. But character says you own it and bounce through it. Just that simple. And so for me, a man is respectable, not because of title, because of how they are being in the world. And it's character first. It's who before what. If you don't have that for me, you don't get to any part of what in my life. If you don't have character, which is who, then you just don't even get to be, you will never get my vote. You will never enter my house. I will definitely not leave you alone with my children or my wife. Because yes, everything that everybody said here, but when I look at who I look at as a man, I respect them and they have character. And if they miss any part of that, and even if somebody gives them a pass on their crap, that person just lost their man card to me too. Like, it's real for me. Like, yeah. And I don't even need to name names. That's how messed up it is right now in the world. I don't have to say a single name and you know who I'm talking about. In your mind, like whoever I'm talking about in your mind, which might not be exactly who I'm talking about, but whoever I'm talking about in your mind, that person is not a man to me. They're pretending. And some of those people have too much power over others right now. I'm gonna pause there and leave it open for whoever wants to pick it up.
Well, I would say that I agree with that. And I think that a man has to be, for me, he's got to be a strong character and, you know, in today's world, and that's why these conversations are so important, because I don't think that there are enough spaces. And this is something that we should probably touch on every time we open this conversation. There are not enough spaces for men to talk. Most men don't have one or two guys that they can talk about, that they open up their hearts and they're free to speak their fears, their pains, what they're going through. Most men, you know, suck it up, walk it off, and all that other nonsense, right? Yet we all need to have that person in our life that we can trust implicitly, and we can tell our deep, dark stuff to. But yet, like I said, we're living in a world today of a lot of weak men. There's a quote that I'm sure all of you have heard it. I'm going to say it was Socrates, right? Because everybody takes claim to it. So I'm going to go a little further back and say Socrates says, probably wasn't Socrates, but bear with me. And it's this, that bad times create strong men. Mm-hmm. Strong men create good times. Good times create weak men. Weak men create bad times. And we've been in this era for the last 20, 30 years of weak men creating hard times. And I think that, you know, we need to kind of step up, and it's okay. Masculinity having been under attack for so long, it's okay to be masculine. It's okay to raise masculine boys. It's okay to push back against the system that's trying to weaken us and take our power away. So I think that that's an important thing to say, that this is that group. This is so that we can have those open conversations, those things that many men are thinking in their minds, but don't have the courage to say, or don't have the person to say it with, so that, because you may say it, you can't say it. If you're feeling weak, it's hard to open up to your spouse or to your children, because you're the head of that household. You don't want to look weak. You don't want to look weak among other men in your group. And unfortunately, we all have those moments of weakness. It's okay if we have breakdowns. It's okay to cry when you're going through struggle, or when you're going through a loss, or whatever it is. And I think it's important for us to just let people know that that's what this group is about, is to have those difficult conversations that people at times are unwilling to have. And, you know, and having opposing views, right? Because not everybody thinks the same way. And not when in the world that we're more connected now and have more access to information than ever before, it used to be said that we just didn't have, sorry about that we didn't have access to information. We have more access to information now, and yet we're dumber and more disconnected than ever before.
Awesome. Who else got something to rebuttal on what I said before?
I'd like to piggyback on what Tony stated. And Tony, I heard you state that there's not a lot of spaces for men, and I would disagree on that. I think men don't choose to be in some of these spaces. I remember when I started my podcast in 2021, it was designed for men. And when I realized that need, men started to come on, but I also realized in some of the work that I do, as you stated, sometimes men don't feel vulnerable enough. Sometimes it can be shame for whatever reason, but we don't take advantage of these spaces. And when I tend to get these men together, and I'm glad to be on this amazing podcast with you gentlemen on this platform. So thank you, Sid, for bringing me on. But it's to be around men of your caliber. And one thing I noticed when you get men together is nothing that we can't accomplish. But also some of us, we have some of the same characteristics. So just for example, within my circle, I tend to attract a lot of single fathers. Men that come to my circle, if you're not taking care of your family or you're not taking care of your kids, that energy just don't come this way. So certain caliber of men do have certain things that we just attract to each other with. And that goes back to what Sid spoke about in regards to character. There's certain characteristics that if you don't have, I just don't fool with you. I meet you where you are, but at the same time, we just own two different energies, two different levels. So, and those that do give men certain passes for certain things, once again, it's a different energy. It's a different vibe. So I think this conversation is very important, but also as men, We have to make sure, man, we're taking advantage of the spaces that we do have. So thank you, Sid, for even creating this platform that men get to come together and actually dialogue and speak about things of this nature.
Yeah, go ahead.
I'll just add another layer to what is a man. A man is a person who is free to admit when he's right, but also free to admit when he's wrong. And especially in these days, how can I say? There's a lot of men whose cover and their book are not the same.
Mm.
Oh, that's
and Coach, I love what you're doing with men. Just a little sidelight. I've been hosting an online show for dads and fathers for the last 5 years. And one of the things I love asking a man when I first meet him, we get into conversation, I ask them, what's a dream, goal, desire that you've given up on? And a lot of times when you ask a man that, no one's ever asked him that before.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, the spaces do exist. But as I always like to say, the safe space, I like the safe and brave space. Because we have a lot of men that are very safe that are saying and doing nothing. And we need our men to put the armor on every once in a while. Because the world is looking for good men. I know a lot of ladies out there that will tell me the reason why the world is a mess is because of men. I say, no, it's the wrong men that you're talking about.
Mm-hmm.
That's a different man than me. So I'll just leave it up. But the important thing about being able to admit when they're right, but more importantly, to admit when they're wrong, and also to say that they're sorry.
Ooh.
Yeah, sometimes it's about owning our stuff, right? And a lot of
Mm-hmm.
you know, and I was actually looking something up that I saw recently, and I'll try to keep it at 30 seconds. Is that our brain is we're wired, right? This is practical everyday human psychology, right? Our brain is wired not to keep us happy, not to make us happy, but to keep us safe. And when you believe intently, and part of your of who you are, your identity is, I am a liberal, I am a conservative, I am Republican, I am MAGA, I am Antifa, I am whatever that is, and you've owned this and it's part of your identity. And sometimes people are too closed in to accept the information. The sign of intelligence is being able to change your mind when new information is presented to you, right? But so many people in today's world, we see it all over the place. You're like, why are this person fighting for this? It doesn't make sense. You're fighting ICE when they're looking for these child rapists and child killers, and yet you're fighting them because they're protecting the idea of who they believe they are. And even though they say, listen, we're here looking for this person, not anyone in particular, but they're going to fight that because it's their identity of who they are, and their brain wants to make them right because being wrong is akin to being in danger. So our brain, you know, oftentimes people fight for things that at some point made sense. They no longer made sense because there's new information. People are committed to that part of their identity. And it is part of that safety mechanism of your brain keeping you safe and not happy. So it's just kind of a weird thing. That's why it's hard for people to apologize, men and women, to take ownership of of who they are and what they've done. And it takes courage to do that.
All right. You laid something in there kind of covered in a sense. And first, I'm gonna go back to Dr. Vibe. I never say I am sorry. You can ask my wife. Never. Now, the reason why I don't, because all the things that Tony said, that he said I am to all these different people, right? So I never complete that statement with sorry, because when someone says I am sorry, even if they are actually in a space of wanting forgiveness for what they've done, they will continue to be sorry because they say, I am sorry. I apologize and I change. I never say I am sorry. I want people to get really deep into an awareness around my words create. So if I say I'm sorry and I keep saying it, you're going to keep being a sorry person, because I am are the two most important words in the English language.
Okay. I want to go in on that. So what's the difference between sorry and apologize?
I apologize and I change my behavior. I am sorry and I keep doing the same sorry behavior. I've watched myself. I watch people that say it and they keep doing I am sorry.
Okay, and I agree with that. I don't think everyone's like that, because I think it's a mindset.
Show me what. Show me.
I can say I'm sorry about. I can say I'm sorry about something, and I can let it go and move forward.
So give me a big example of something that you've said sorry for and you've repeated. Well, you know, it's a Canadian thing. Y'all say sorry all the time.
And we are labeled as Canadians saying sorry a lot. But no, and I hear where you're coming, but just for me, I can say I'm sorry about something and I can move forward.
Okay, I believe you. I believe you.
But I do understand what you're saying. Some people may live in it for a long while after they say they're sorry. And I guess it depends on the level of emotional intelligence each person has.
Have you had any moments that you've said, I am sorry, that have come back around later?
My answer to that would say yes, but I also had to with it saying I apologize. Same thing.
Okay, well, I mean, then yes, you have to strengthen your words. I know that I am 100 on I am Sid. I am a dad. Like I know who I am. Therefore, I won't complete it that way, because I know how it can add to me in my psyche. Like, we're talking a deep psyche sense, not a spidey sense of all the I am statements. Two most important words in the English language. Whether you think you're on it or not, the possibility is now hidden in your brain. That's your subconscious. Now, the other thing was, when I look at who do I dub as men, when I look at somebody that passed, when he passed, I was speaking at Black History Month deal where they were honoring different people in Black history, and I brought him to the table because I could respect who he was. Like, the fact that he went and created how to measure T cells on skin. He created that. And then in this world of weak men at best, that they stole it and put it on someone else's name, even though he got a little bit of it back. They just did that. So, and he never talked to me about it. The only reason I know about it is because my dad mentored him. Like, he didn't carry that as a place where he destroyed others because of it. I actually think it ate him up. So recently he passed of cancer. But I've respected him as a man because no matter what we would talk about, and he's a scientist. That's it. Like, if it doesn't make science, it doesn't make sense to him. And yet he always allowed my thoughts to be mine, and he could stay in his as a man without it being a problem. And there's very few men that I witnessed that can actually just be okay, be at peace. So, yeah, Tony had me put something in my book. Better to be a warrior in the garden than a gardener in a war. But the warrior in the garden is peaceful, just simple, like it's easy. The gardener in the war is usually pretty scared. And that to me is what it looks like. That's a man that I can speak to because he's been in my life. I could speak to others. I mean, Mike Mallory, Randy Melvin. It's interesting. Most of the people I'd probably go to outside of him, most of them are coaches, like football coaches. Like, it was just real. The football coaches, you could get punched in the mouth and you could get hugged at the same time. Like, it was just real. So there's something to that for me. I'd love to hear anybody else got somebody that they respect as a man.
Yeah, there's depth in what you said. If you don't mind, sorry if
Go ahead. Sorry,
go ahead.
Tony.
You can go. I didn't mean to step on you.
No, I just want to say really quick. Now, part of manhood, people you just displayed, Sid and I didn't really agree on something. Look how we handled it. Right? That's part of being a man. We in life are going to have disagreements with people. It's how we handle it. And how Chris, like Sid would say, I forgot, I had it there and it's done because I know Sid enough. I have a relationship enough with Sid that I know that I just said, no problem, because it's bigger. What I have with Sid is bigger than this little back and forth that we had. And we handled it respectfully. We didn't downtrod each other. We didn't curse each other. We didn't do this and that. And that's who we are while you're looking now. And that's who we are when you don't see us. And that's another aspect of manhood. What man are you when no one's looking? So just wanted to interrupt. Sorry, Tony, go ahead, please.
No, I love that. And I think you're right. I think, again, Sid and I don't agree on everything we've had.
I've seen some of them live.
See some of the stuff that we go back and forth on Instagram in particular and on text. But it's okay because, something I told my nephew when I was just in Portugal. It's funny that we're talking about grieving because I'd like to jump in on that at some point, maybe later on. But I was with I was just in Portugal, unfortunately burying my dad, and my nephew was there as well. And he's of a different political opinion as I am because he's in Boulder, Colorado, and that's just a little different there. And one of the things that I said, I don't know if I said it to him or the people we were talking to, the reality is this: is we find comfort among people who agree with us and think the same way that we do, but we only find growth among those who don't. Right? Having the conversations with people of opposing views so we can learn and grow. Because how do I know that I'm right or wrong? He's like, well, you speak like you're right. Well, I do. I speak with conviction, right? We should all speak with conviction, be passionate about our beliefs, right? Regardless of what that is. And then again, when presented with new information, then that's a sign of intelligence of being able to change your mind, right? And I think that's a big part of what it is because we find growth among those people. So one of the things that I had wanted to bring in before when you were talking about being better to be a gardener, a warrior in a garden than a gardener in a war, because they don't know how to fight. They don't know they can't respond or react to what's coming to them. And the only way to stop evil, right, is for good men being willing to do bad things to stop the bad people that are coming. You can't. If there's a warrior that's coming to attack, you can't put, maybe if you put a preacher or a priest in front of them, maybe, or a monk, maybe they'll listen. It depends on how aggressive they're coming. That's not going to help, right? So you need to be able to be that warrior in the garden, that if someone attacks your garden, you need to bring that warrior up to defend your family, to defend who you are and where you are. So I think that's a big part. And there was something else that came up, but it lost me. But if you'll give me a minute to talk on or maybe we haven't been to the part of grief yet, but I'd like to touch on that when at the appropriate time.
Yeah, we'll definitely come back to that because I think for me, when I look at being a warrior, right, like, absolutely, I know I'm that. Like, as peaceful as I can be, let's not kick the hornet's nest because it's coming, right? It's just real. Yet at the same time, part of being that warrior to me is that person may be coming with a gun, but I'm only using my physical force when I have to, but that also is the level of warrior that I am because I can hold it because I know I'm good. Like at the end of the day, people have come with some crazy things and shark in the ocean. And I'm like, oh, I just got bumped by the shark and I'm at peace with it. Now, I promise you, me and the shark going to dance. Now, depending on how big it is, it'll depend on who wins. But me and the shark going to dance if I have to. But I'm truly at peace with it. And it usually just bumps me, turns so it can see me, and then it just goes off. And it's just easy. But now turn that to the warrior that doesn't have that level of calm. you start freaking out about a shark, it's over, bro. It's over. And I think it's the same thing for these land sharks that we all have to deal with.
And I want to comment on that, Sid. Two things I want to comment on: the power of words. As you stated, you don't say "I am sorry," and I do understand the reason behind it. But it also goes with what Dr. Vibe stated in regards to emotional intelligence. Some people may not be there, as well as I want to acknowledge Dr. Vibe in regards to, once again, you're not going to always agree on things, but to me, emotional intelligence in a man's ability to understand what he feels, manage what he feels, and also communicate what he feels, and leave without letting unchecked emotions run his life. To me, it's not weakness, it's not softness, it's more stewardship as well as discipline. So this is where we have to really come together and acknowledge those things. And if we can't, and it's almost, when I say the power of words, this is one of my biggest pet peeves, gentlemen. We know Jesus' name is not Jesus, but yet the church still calls him Jesus. So if we continue to go on with this same thing, what I would call a lie, because his name is Yeshua, but yet we still call him Jesus, it becomes the truth. So many things are power in words. So I liked how you acknowledge that you don't say "I'm sorry," you say you apologize. But that's a whole nother form of an emotional intelligence, is understanding the power of words.
Yeah, I love that, because you know what I tell my kids is the best apology is change behavior. So it's not, you can say "I'm sorry" till you're blue in the face, but if that doesn't change, then you're not really sorry. But just to touch on what you said, Sid, about, and what you said, Coach, is, you know, when you encounter that shark, the discipline, which is like that warrior instinct, right? You've got to be disciplined, because what you choose to do when you get bumped by the shark, you chose to respond, not react. If you reacted, this shark would probably attack you, probably bite you, because, and that's what happens in life. Oftentimes something happens and we don't take a pause, because there's power in the pause. We don't take a pause to stop, think about what we're going to say, what that means. Does this really mean what I think it means? You know, is this true? Do you have to respond? How are you going to respond? So you get to respond, pause, and you can respond intelligently as opposed to react. And a reaction is usually the wrong thing. Reaction usually has you hit somebody, you know, that might be the wrong person to hit. Maybe it wasn't called for that. Maybe you misunderstood. Sometimes you just got to stop, take a pause, assess, and then respond, because that's really a smart thing to do. And, you know, and again, I've not been in the military and I've not been in the police force and everything else, but I have done some training, some hand to hand and all that stuff. And it's really about the response, not the reaction. When you react, it's usually not a good thing. And the one last thing I want to say is, and you were talking about words, and one of the quotes, you've heard me say this quote before, Sid, is that the words you speak become the house you live in. So you've got to be careful, because it's called spelling for a reason, because you can actually enchant yourself into believing something that isn't true. That's why you shouldn't talk ill of yourself, even if it's in a joking way. That self-deprecating humor, you know, every now and again might be funny, but if you do it all the time, then that's just a sign for me that you don't have confidence in yourself and there's something missing. So be careful the words that you use on yourself, because it can weaken your inner warrior, your inner child, your inner king, or it can strengthen it. So you have to be careful. I think it was Bruce Lee that said, don't ever utter a bad word about yourself, because your subconscious is always listening. And we all do that. We just got to catch ourselves and really be the observer of our thoughts, so that we can think and do and act and react better.
Great point, Tony. Great point.
Yeah, I'd like to go ahead and pivot, because we're at the halfway mark, but pivot into grief and what that looks like as a man. One, I think for me as a man, grief, especially when I see someone else, I'm aware that it may take them a lot longer than it takes me, because I'm pretty much a heartbeat guy. Like, if it's a heartbeat out of piece, I'm gonna be back right after. Like, it's just how I move. So I know that other people, it may take them a long time. I mean, fortunately, I have a loving wife that when I'm like a heartbeat, and I like, all right, it's a TV show. Let's not go down that grief of this. uh, it just becomes different. So I think that that's a big part of it for me, is that everybody grieves differently. And as a man, I have to know that. I have to be okay letting people move their process the way they do. And then also being loving enough to help them through it if I can.
Yeah, I think if I may jump in, again, I just buried my dad, which was hard.
Condolences. Wow.
My condolences, big
Thank
time.
you. Appreciate that. About 6 months ago, buried a brother-in-law, 41 years old. A year before that, buried my brother in a freak accident. So there's been a lot of pain, a lot of struggle. But of course, death is something that we all have to deal with at some point in our life. We're gonna deal with it. It's just inevitable. It's part of life. You know, and one of the things to remember is, you got to give yourself the permission to grieve. You know, and there's a comedian, I forget who it is. It's an English guy, kind of very tidy, slim, thin, and tall. And he's actually known for when somebody picks with heckles him in the audience, he kind of eviscerates them. So there was I watched this last week, just a quick clip, and somebody said, "Hey, how did you deal with the death of your mom, of your mother?" And he's like, "It was okay." He's like, "Really?" He said, "Well, it was sad, but of course it's going to be sad. It would be sad if I wasn't sad." Because the reality, my friends, is that the depth of your sorrow, the depth of your suffering, the depth of your pain, the depth of your mourning is directly correlated to the depth of the love that you had for that person. It's the price you pay for love. The depth of your sorrow and your pain is the price you pay for love. And here's what I'm going to tell everyone. The pain, that sadness, that emptiness, that weight doesn't go away. It doesn't go away. It gets easier over time, not because it goes away and the pain diminishes, but because you become stronger and you can carry it better. And, you know, I've found myself in certain situations that I have to be the strong one, even when I wanted to be weak. But, you know, I think as Bob Marley, I think was the one that said that you never know how strong you are until being strong is the only choice you have. So I did a eulogy for my dad, which in Portugal is still not a very common thing. And because, you know, the relationship I had with my dad in the early years was not good. I mean, I finally made peace with him and forgave him and understood who the man was in my 30s. And then I rebuilt my relationship with him because I learned that you can't teach what you don't know. You can't give what you don't have. So it's up to us as men, as humans, to understand that nobody's perfect. We all make mistakes. And the mistakes we make sometimes are with good intention, but if we don't know it, we don't know it. All we can do is do the best we can with what we know. And when we know better, we do better, as Maya Angelou so beautifully stated years ago. The idea, though, is to when you know, and you got to forgive yourself for not knowing what you didn't know when you didn't know it. And at the same time, you've got to forgive that person that maybe hurt you because perhaps they didn't know what they needed to know. And it's important. I tell my kids all the time, you know, especially when they were growing up, they were teenagers. I said, listen, son, I've never been a dad of a 17-year-old. I've been 17 years old, but I've never been that. So we're all going through this little thing called life together. So grieving is a process that we all have to go through, and you got to give yourself that space to do that, whether you're crying, you know, with someone or you're crying alone or whatever that looks like for you, however you're going to honor that person. And honestly, I think that the biggest way that any of us can honor those loved ones that have gone is to live for them, live your life, because live while you're alive. Don't leave things undone. Don't leave unfulfilled dreams. They say that the richest place in the world is a cemetery because of all the unwritten songs, unwritten books, unfulfilled dreams, and everything else, right? Nobody ever on their deathbed, as in the 5 Regrets of the Dying, ever said, I wish I had sold more property. I wish I had acquired more businesses. I wish I had made more money. I wish I had spent more time at the office. Nobody says that. The number one thing is say, I wish I had spent more time with the people that I love and doing the things that I love to do. And then the second one is, I wish I had lived my life on my terms that I wanted to live and not someone else's life. So again, going back to the grieving process, we all grieve, and give yourself that space. It's okay to cry. It's okay to mourn. It's just not okay to stay in that negative space because those who have gone before us wouldn't want us to be there, right? And in the case of my dad, he'd been suffering for 1.5 years. I had said goodbye to him for the last time 3 or 4 different occasions because he was just in a bad way. So we're all here for the amount of time we're here, and we've got to celebrate the life and the blessings that we have for having them, the lessons that we learned, and not just mourn their loss and their absence, right? So that's what I just wanted to throw in. I don't want to take more time. I know I already took more than a minute.
That's all good. There's one of those moments, Dr. Vibe, as I introduce this whole idea of us moving with velocity, there are going to be moments that we take time. Like, that's just real.
Thank you. For
yeah, for sure. Thank you for sharing, and glad you're back, and best to your family and everybody in the process. And that, you know, that everybody gets that no matter what, your dad's in the place that brought us here in the first place. And in my view, that's a pretty good one, because none of us can create ourselves.
That's right.
So no matter what, I'm going to a place that at least did it well enough to create me in the first place. And so grieving as a man to me is, everybody's different. I think, but if I were going to say it in a way that someone listening may pick it up for the first time if they're about to go through something. As a man, my grieving doesn't take anybody else out. That's where I'd go with it. Like, you may hit the depths, you may get down to the nitty gritty of whatever it is you're coming through. And then is it taking others out? Because if you're taking others out with you, that's a childish way to me. You know, a man recognizes that they have the ability to care for someone else as they move through anything. And, you know, both my parents are still here. All of my grandparents are gone, except for my adopted grandmother. And, I lost my only mentor, so that was different. But what I know, when I lost Jerry, when I heard, I went into it hardcore. Like, I pulled over a stranger in the middle of the parking lot that I had never met and said, "Hey, I got to talk to you. I've seen how you move. I trust how you move. I need someone to talk to right now, because I'm in the deep." And he took me to a meeting. That was my first Alcoholics Anonymous meeting. And I've been sober for 19 years, and then went to my first Alcoholics Anonymous meeting, you know, and not because I was going to drink or anything like that, because I'm good. Like, you need to know how to get through it. I got you. Like, I'm good, because that's just what the mountains did for me back in 2006. And so when I sat in that room, what I think allowed me to process it so quickly, when I went to that meeting, and then I turned around and went to another meeting that night, I went all the way into it. There wasn't any hiding from it. I went into it. I talked to the people that I could talk to, the ones, my wife and people that I love, and talk to strangers. Like, for me, that's the process. As a man, just being able to rip my heart open. It's like Hanuman. You see a statue of Hanuman, heart's open, and he's looking at Sita and Ram. Like, finding that depth of getting reconnected, it was what it looked like for me to move through my grief in a way that, one, allowed it to move faster than I think it would have, and to own it. Like, really, that a man, to me, owns what's put in front of them, because it's only designed for whoever's going through it. So that's what I got.
Thank you, Sid, so much for sharing your experience. And once again, our condolences to you, Tony. And thank you for sharing your experience, as well as to be able to get closure with your dad. And with that being said, one thing my wife and I pray, we pray twice a day. And we're always praying to create these memories and to live today like it's the last day. And one thing I get from this is one of the first things many men, we are taught, you know, how to function under pressure. And we're taught how to survive. We're taught how to perform. And we're also taught how to push through. But we're not always taught how to process pain. And in the military, as a combat veteran, I learned discipline. I learned how to be mission focused. I learned how to keep moving even when the conditions was hard. That can make you strong, but it also can train you to override what you just feel, just to complete the mission or just to get on with the day. So I think this is a very important conversation when we're talking about feelings, which is something that can be iffy for some men, but it's very important to understand what those feelings look like and how to display those feelings. And when I'm consulting men, this is one of the things that sometimes become challenging. Sometimes we don't know how to express that. And sometimes it comes out in the form of anger. And it may just be sadness. It may just be disappointment. And before you know it, now we're in a confrontation. And that may not even be the intention whatsoever. So I think this is very important, man, that we have these conversations about how we deal with grief, because we're not always taught how to deal with grief. And one thing I know from consulting and helping many men, when we isolate and you don't hear from men, usually it's something going on. And we're trying to figure it out on our own. And sometimes we end up reinventing the wheel and create even more problems. Mm-hmm. So men is not designed to be alone. Even with the wolf pack, we have to stay within the wolf pack. And when you pull away from the wolf pack, and I see it all the time, gentlemen, you probably see it as well. Later on, when I call that man and reach out to him, because I ain't heard from you, brother, what's been going on? It's usually something that they're dealing with and trying to figure out on their own. So thank you all so much for what you're putting out, because I hope the men that's listening, and even the wives that's listening, make sure that your sons, your husbands, your uncles, they actually can hear this, because you don't have to deal with things on your own, man. You don't have to process it by yourself. We all feel. And sometimes people think that we're emotionless, but men, we have feelings as well. I'm complete, gentlemen.
Well, there's been so much wisdom here. It's a challenge to even voice anything, because there's been so many knowledge bombs dropped. First things first, Tony, condolences to you and your family. I'll pick up on one of the things Coach Hightower said. Be wary when a man goes into his cave. Many years ago, there was this new term called a man cave. Man cave. Be wary. Watch your men when they go in their cave. And how long do they go in their cave for? And I'm not just talking physically, but emotionally. Be wary about when we go into our caves. I'm going to make a suggestion to the men and those who love them on this. And I've said this over the years, that one of the ways you can maybe prevent the grief by going so deep. Men out there, if there's men or a man that you care about, and this is not my idea, it was given to me by a great gentleman, Robert Leung. When I first met him, he mentioned something called a living eulogy. I had never heard that term before. And I went, Robert, what are you talking about? That doesn't make sense. Living eulogy? And he said, Dr. Vibe, how many people do you know save the best of what they want to say to someone at their eulogy? Why aren't they saying it when they're alive? So he encouraged me, said, Dr. Vibe, if they're men or people that you care about, whether it's typing or writing a letter, write them a letter. And then whether it's over a screen, if you can do it in person, even better, and just say, I want to sit you down. I want to just read you something. And you read what you have to say to that person and how much they mean to you, and then you give it to them.
I love that. I actually said that this morning, because I did a video on, I started doing Facebook Lives in the morning again. And I did a video and I spoke about that. And I said that, it's great, the eulogies and everything else, but stop giving people their flowers after they're dead. Give them to them while they're alive, so they can see them, they can smell them, they can appreciate them. Tell the people how you feel about them, what they mean to you, the impact that they've had in your life. Give them the flowers now, because everybody that died yesterday had plans for this morning, and that's not going to change. So if you think of someone, call them. if somebody comes to your mind, there's a reason that they came to your mind. Either you need to speak to them or they need to speak to you. There's an energetic transference, a frequency, a vibration that is calling your attention to this person. So just reach out, send a text message, because sometimes that's all it takes for a brother or a sister, so to speak, that may be struggling, to know that somebody cares. And if they come to your mind, sometimes that's all they need to say, all right, somebody thought about me. Because there's people that are so freaking lonely that are walking around. And that's why I often say, when you just walk around, smile at people, because that might be the only smile they've seen for days or weeks or months, right? Because so many people walk around feeling invisible. So instead of, giving somebody their flowers on their deathbed, give them to them now, because that's when it really matters.
Yeah. I just want to add, and he also did something for a number of years when they had family get-togethers. He said one year they had a family get-together, and what he got to do is he started with his niece at that time, who was 5 years old. He got everyone to say how much they cared for everyone else in the room.
Yeah, I love it. And as we wind this up, I'm gonna give it you guys about 30 seconds each to say whatever. But the one thing that came to me as you were sharing is, I think it's important for me as a man to notice feedback. And that doesn't always look like somebody talking to me, but feedback for me was easy, riding in a car for 31,000 miles with my wife. And I went into my coach's voice and I looked over, and the look on her face said, "Coach doesn't get to play ever again." It was simple. It was feedback, and we've not, we've moved through 8 years since without arguing, right? Which was just that easy feedback was, I don't want to, she don't need to have to look like that. That's on me. So I think it's important for us as men to just watch the feedback you're getting, and it's coming all the time. How people respond to what you do. Period.
I just want to add really quick to that. Not only listen to what they're saying, but what they're not saying.
Oh, she didn't say a word. Exactly.
There you go. Right? There you go.
She didn't say a word.
It was not only what they're saying, but what they're not saying.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. And then be willing to receive. I know when I think of giving my dad flowers right now, there's going to be a response to it. 9 times out of 10, he's going to say something, or this is why I did it. No, just receive it. Let it settle into your being. It's like all of us are speakers on a stage. And when I was trained to speak as a president, and I knew I'd hit this speech out of the park, man. These people stood up. They were like, yeah, oh yeah. And I just walked off the stage. She said, "Sid, no, don't ever do that again. You got to stand and receive the applause. You got to take it in and let it settle in your being." And I think so often, I had never heard that. I'm so used to, hey, you scored a touchdown, act like you've been there. All these different things. And when she said that, I was like, oh, okay. There's just a level of grace I can do when receiving the applause, when receiving the awards, just sitting in it, because actually in receiving it like that, I am honoring the people that are giving it.
I love that you said that, and going back to the whole warrior thing. And I heard this, I'm not sure where I heard it. It was in the last 2-3 weeks. And it was in the time of the Roman times. And this I don't know, commander or whatever his position was, the captain or the general was coming back into Rome after having won a tremendous battle. And he was just coming in, and it was very much the same way. Like you're saying, the touchdown, just, no big deal. Okay. You're like, yeah. And then one of his other commanders behind him grabbed his neck and lifted it up and says, "Soak it in." Because these are the moments. These are the moments. And that you'll remember for the rest of your life. So take it in. Don't just discount it. And we as men, as givers in particular, and the coaches and the people that are always helping people, the speakers, we are givers more than takers. And as a matter of fact, it's hard for us to ask for help. I'm speaking for myself. I'm pretty sure I can, you guys are probably guilty of similar, if not the same thing. We have to remember that it's a law of reciprocity. In order for us to give, we must receive. And if we're just giving and not receiving, at some point we'll turn bitter and say, nobody's ever, poured back into me. I'm always helping everybody else. Who's helping me? The reality of it is, chances are we've been offered help, but we say, no, I got this. I got this. I got this. I got this. And before you know it, because you're the strong one, everybody looks at you as the strong one. You don't need the help because you're the man. Sid McNairy, he's a peace guy. He knows. Are you kidding me? Dr. Vibe, Coach Hightower, he coaches, he helps people. You don't need little old me. The reality of it is we do, right? The reality is we need to ask for help. We need to receive the help or we need to receive, the accolades and absorb them, because otherwise, if somebody says thank you and you push it off, you're being rude, right? You're being rude because you just accept it because it's good for you and it's good for them. Just like when you help people, it's good for your soul. It's good for your karma. You get that dopamine hit. And when you deny, you can deny someone else's blessings that are coming to them for having helped you. You're blocking the dopamine that they're going to get for helping you. That feel-good factor that you get, you're depriving them of it. So stop being an ass, which it was literally, I've told you this, Sid, and I'm not going to go into the whole story again, but I got called on that once. I'm like, holy crap, you're right. I'm sorry. I accept and thank you. And then, accepting the help, because again, you are blocking the blessings from someone who's trying to help you. And I'll say this, if you have the opportunity, and this is not for you guys, because I know you're doing it already. If you have the opportunity to help someone, you should, because maybe God is answering their prayers through you. Just like when somebody is trying to help you and offering you help and you deny it, that is perhaps God helping you through them, right? And we need to have that awareness that that's what's happening. So
alrighty,
just want to put that in there.
Nice. All right. Coach, what's your quote to leave people with? And then we'll go to Dr. Vibe.
Tony said it best. And I got another friend named Tony. We had this conversation yesterday, and he was telling me, because he helped another friend of mine, and she wanted to actually, bless him with a love offering, and he kind of rejected it. And he said, man, I need to stop doing that because people always want to pour into me, but I don't know how to accept it. And as you stated, Tony, most leaders don't know how to accept it. I'm working on it as well as myself, but as he realized, he said, I'm actually probably stopping her from getting blessed as well as I'm stopping my own blessing. So fellas, here we land today, okay? And being a real man isn't about how loud we are. It's not about how tough you look. It's not about how much control you have over people. It's about your character. It's also about your emotional intelligence and the words that we chose every single day. The great men who changed history, such as Dr. Martin Luther King, they felt the same anger. They felt the same pain, the same fear, the same grief. The difference is they didn't let their emotions or their words run wild. They chose discipline over reaction, and their vision over their ego, and responsibility over blame. So as we end this conversation, and we're going to have Dr. Vibe come up shortly, I want you to ask yourself, though, man, what am I speaking over my life and my family? Are my emotions leading me, or am I leading them? And if my sons, brothers, or my community copy my example, will they be stronger or weaker because of it? Because real men, we don't wait for better times or better leaders. Right now, we're living in some trying times. And because of them trying times, we're going to have to change the way we lead. Tony said it earlier today, and I can't remember the quote, but during good times, we create weak men. During something like that phrase. I can't remember, but I know exactly what you're saying and resonate with me. So right now, real men, we become better men for our family. We also become better in the community and for the people we need. So my thought, the last thing I want to say, learn how to surrender. Learn to surrender. When I learned to surrender, my blessings started to come. Clarity started to come. And that's part of the ego. So just learn to surrender and continue, once again, men, to connect with other men. Tony said it earlier. Most men that I talk to probably only have one or two people to connect to. If that, I'm done.
Okay. That was about the fifth done, but go, Dr. Vibe.
I'll make it. First, I want to say thank you again, Sid, for providing a safe and brave space for us to share, and we all realize it's bigger than us. Just really some really quick things. And I want to speak specifically to the people who see that men are going through challenging times through grief. Just be with them, saying things like, do you want me close by, or would some time alone feel better a bit? Check in regularly. Check in regularly. We talked about checking in with a guy, and understand that many men cope by staying busy or controlled, while other men may cry or talk a lot. Both can be normal. Men, like every other human being, we handle grief differently. So whatever way they're handling it, that's the way they're handling it. Let them breathe. Let them breathe. Let it get over. And then finally, what, as a man, after you've left this earth, what do you want people to say about you? What do you want people to say about you? And I'll use it, and I'll make it right quick, Sid. I went to a funeral of a man 5 or 6 years ago, and I've never seen this at a funeral before. He was very much faithful to his church community. And during his service, the celebration service, 55 men got up and sang him a song of tribute. Wow. I've never seen anything like that in my life. And there's a big church, people were in tears. So I will leave with that story.
Beautiful. Could I add 15 seconds, Sid?
No, because I'm 8 minutes late for this meeting.
Next week.
Next week. Yeah. Thank you, everybody, for being here. I'm gonna leave it as fast with this on as a man, may everyone from this day forward have been happy to have met you.
There you go.
That's what I got. All right. Thank you all.
Be well. Keep the faith, gentlemen. Pleasure meeting you again, Dr. Hightower. Good to see you, Tony.
Yeah, good to meet you guys.
All right.
I've been at peace for so long. It seems like I've been sitting all alone. Would you know when the crew is coming through? They're the ones that will make anew. Gotta go, gotta flow, gotta choose the truth. We the ones that will raise the roof. Let's roll up and throw down. Let's go and feel the sound. Good vibes, one try. Can you feel me now? Be you, be me, be free. Go and take it till we bounce the beat. Take it to the streets, make 'em move the feet. I can slow it down, look in my eyes now. Just like you two want it fast. Spread them wings and make it last. God was the one to erase the past. Time to bring it forward and see the forecast. Did you hear it? Did you hear it? Lift your dreams and fill the glass. Did you hear it? Did you hear it? Lift your dreams and fill the glass. That was God's broadcast. That was God's broadcast. Time to embrace the peace. Time to embrace the peace.